Hi again, friends. It's Mushroom Man here, and this is my second video. I'm excited to be back with you. And when I start these, I'm usually a little, I don't know if nervous is the word, but things are a little thick, things are a little sluggish, a little slow, so I like to take a deep breath. And today, I've got to say, is a little bit of a heavy episode. It deals with death, and so I recently lost a friend, and so I think I might need 3 deep breaths at the beginning of this episode. So maybe you could take a few deep breaths with me. Ready? Inhale. Long exhale. I'm going to do 2 more. Inhale through the nose. Long exhale. Through the mouth. 1 more. About 4 seconds. Inhale through the nose. Long, about 8 seconds. Exhale through the mouth. All right. The main thing is the exhale needs to be longer than the inhale, and that gets your parasympathetic nervous system going, which is well, I don't exactly know what it is, but it's the opposite of when you're kind of in fight or flight or freeze mode. It's the part of your nervous system that rests and heals and recuperates and relaxes. And, sometimes you need to be on high alert, and sometimes you need to heal and rest and relax. So anyway, a little off course already at the beginning. I've had folks tell me, I've only released 1 video so far, but some of the feedback I've gotten is that, actually I've only heard people say they like when I get off track and go on tangents. But that's only been from a couple people, so maybe there's some of y'all out there who think it's annoying, want me to stick to the point. So anyway, let me know. Again, I loved in the last couple weeks hearing from people, hearing what you thought. I put out the question, what's your version of utopia? I'll do a whole show and I'll read all the utopias that I get. So if you want to contribute your utopia, please do so. And like I said, we'll do a little episode that's just about that. Y'all, not feeling super centered. I'm going to take 1 more deep breath. You could take it with me, or you could just watch me take a deep breath. I'm going to try to stay focused on you and our connection. But if I do glance down like this every once in a while, it's just because I got a computer down there, making sure things are still in focus, making sure the levels are good. Yeah. So, as I mentioned, it's been an intense couple weeks. I think a few days after, maybe it was a week after I did the first video, I can't remember the timing exactly. My dear dog that I've had for 15 years, he was having a hard time. He had a degenerative disease, neurological disease. He couldn't really stand up anymore. He fell down all the time. He had dementia. He was 16 years old, something around there. And so I had to call the vet and say goodbye to him. And I found this sweet pup. His name was Buddy, on this street like 15 years ago when I lived in California. And I had never had a dog before that. I didn't particularly want a dog. I didn't have a lifestyle that that made sense. Hold on, let me check in, y'all. Let me check in. This is some heavy stuff, and I wanna make sure I'm connected with y'all, and I'm connected with what I'm supposed to be talking about here today. So let me just make sure. Yeah, there we go. You know, what I'm supposed to be talking about here is death. And mushrooms are, we're all living things are deeply involved with death, but mushrooms, we take dead things and we help turn them into life again, which is pretty amazing. It's just one part of the cycle. In a way, it's not amazing at all. It's what happens every second, every day, all over Earth, in the soil, everywhere on Earth. But it's also amazing. That's sort of what's interesting about life, is things are kind of banal and everyday and amazing and miraculous at the same time. And so, yeah, death. What is death? I'll tell you this. A couple of weeks ago with my friend, I was there when the veterinarian put him to sleep, and I was with my family, and it's the first time I've seen, I call him a person because to me, he was a dear friend. He was a person just because he was a different species, just because he didn't speak the same language that I did. Well, maybe he did speak the same language I did. I think we did communicate in some other language that I don't have a name for. But yeah, he was a friend. Let's just say that. And this friend, I saw the life go out of him in front of me. And, his eyes, I felt his heart stop beating. His eyes, they were kind of closed, but I could, as I was petting him, they would kind of open up a little, and I saw, the life, whatever that is, that spark, that thing was out of his eyes. And then when the veterinarian brought a basket that after I sat with him after he passed for about an hour, and I put him in the basket, and when I lifted him up, his whole body was limp, and it was all this was. I'll say when it was all happening, it was very emotional. It was in a way very beautiful. I could really feel like the love that I had for him, and just like his I don't know what the right word is. I don't want to say spirit, but like his the gift of his life. I could feel it like in my heart. And I'm pausing not because I'm gonna like cry. This will be a little tangent. When what I'm talking about was happening, I was very emotional, but I think some protection mechanism maybe I've developed over the years which I'm trying to kind of let go of, but I think I've developed this way of being able to talk about really difficult things in a way that I don't feel any emotion. I kind of detach from them, from the experiences. Yeah, and I still don't know exactly what that's all about. I mean, I guess sometimes it's painful to kind of revisit these things. I'd certainly rather feel more emotion when I feel emotional about my dog or about anything. It helps, it helps kind of get those feelings flowing and not stuck. I think those feelings for me, especially in many years, most of my life, they just kind of get stuck. I don't know if I specifically was, kind of brought up to not feel a lot of emotions, to think that they were scary or dangerous or something. But I do know my sort of inclination is to not feel emotions. But I've been working really hard in the last couple of years, and I've definitely opened up the flow of those emotions. The tears, they come a lot easier now. Typically, even if I know something's difficult going on in my life and I'm not feeling it, I kind of know it's there, and I understand that these things just manifest in different ways. And I don't know, this is a big old tangent, or maybe not. Maybe that's what this whole thing's about. Maybe it's all just one big tangent that we'll go on together. And I don't know, maybe I'm sorry. I don't know if it's appropriate to apologize, but it's a lot to have such an intense theme for just the second episode of my little show here. So, if it's a lot, I understand, and it's just what I'm experiencing right now. It's what I'm going through. But yeah, getting back to the experience, it was the first time someone I deeply cared about, I saw their life go away in front of me, and I saw the changes, the transformations in their body right in front of me. And as I'm saying this, I see a hummingbird out the window drinking nectar from a beautiful flower. And yeah, seeing this friend pass definitely made me think of my father, who passed about 8 years ago now. And I don't think I really processed too much of that, but I wasn't there. I've never been there for any close friends or family members who've passed, and a number of people have passed in the last 3-4 years that I cared about and that I knew, but I've never been there for it. And yeah, it's something to see. It made something abstract that was abstract for me very tangible, very real. And it made me think, wow, if I had been there when my father passed, or when some other people that I've cared deeply about have passed, what would that have been like? Somehow, not because my friend was a dog or anything like that, but somehow he's such like an amazing teacher, and something about it, it's like it's brought me just to the edge of sort of what I'm capable of grappling with or trying to understand. And it hasn't gone completely into like totally overwhelming, but it was a very strong experience. And I think if I'd been there maybe when my father passed, it would have been like totally overwhelming and almost too much to try to comprehend, at least with my friend. It's like he's given me a chance to make some sense of this. And death is something I've struggled with, just because I'm a mushroom and I recycle death in a way and turn it back into life. Just because I'm part of that process doesn't make it easier for me. I'm part of in one clear way, I'm part of the physical recycling of death. I take death and I turn it into life again. That's what mushrooms do. And that part makes sense to me. But of course, there's what some people call a spiritual or a metaphysical aspect of life, or some people don't think there is one. I do. I think I feel it. I think I'm in touch with it, but the way I was raised was to think that only material things exist, to believe that science sort of has all the answers, or the scientific method can show us everything we need to know. There wasn't a lot of room for the metaphysical, the spiritual, whatever you want to call it, that sort of layer of life that's invisible, that's beneath the surface. And so when I asked as a small child, what happens when you die, my father told me that nothing happens. And it really impacted me. And maybe it wasn't just that conversation, but just sort of seeing his relationship with death. It's interesting, he was a veterinarian, so he took care of animals. But yeah, his relationship with death it seemed to be death's the end, and that's it, and nothing happens afterwards, and you're gone. And that felt really uncomfortable to me as a kid. I mean, uncomfortable to say the least. It's sort of what I've spent my whole life grappling with, trying to understand, like, if that's the case, then what's it all about? What's the, meaning? And so, yeah, somehow just to see it in front of me, the life go out of someone I really cared about, just brings this into super sharp focus. And I don't know, as I tell you all this stuff, I realize this is a performance in a way. I'm trying, I want to be very centered with you all, very present, very unfiltered. I very much want to take what comes through me and pass that on to you. And maybe I'm not doing that today. Maybe I won't ever put this video out. But I also realize, that this is kind of a performance as well, that everything I'm telling you is true. It's just, I realize there's kind of a performative element to it, and I don't know how I feel about that. And there's also, it's very difficult to be present in life in general. It's super tricky to be present when you're on camera, I think, or when you're talking to people out there who are at this moment invisible to me. I know you're there, and I appreciate you being there, and it's been exciting to connect with some people through here. But right now, it's just me talking to a camera. And, right now I think it's a lot of me telling you something that's on my mind. Let me see if I can just really be here with what wants to come through. And that might just be silence, but let's see. I don't know if this is what wants to come through in words, but what I'm seeing is a flower right now. I mentioned a little while ago, I saw a hummingbird out the window, drinking, eating, whatever you would call it, out of a flower. And I'm just seeing a flower right now. And, what is that? What's that all about? Mushrooms are a little bit like flowers. We're more like fruits, what comes maybe after the flower. But mycelium fungi, we're just a different kingdom of life from plants. We're very different. We're actually more closely related to humans than we are to plants, which is interesting. And yeah, as I look outside, I see plants, I see trees. It's kind of a late spring day. I live in the Southwest, so it's almost more like summer now. It's May, early May. And I'm looking at blossoms on a tree and insects and flowers. I know why flowers. So, and this is probably the last thing I'll say, and maybe this is something I'll revisit. It's not like I can tackle death in 20 minutes or whatever. Not that this has to be 20 minutes, but who has the time to watch a mushroom talk for more than 20 minutes? Maybe more than 5 minutes, more than 1 minute. Maybe some people have 10 hours to watch this, but anyway, yes, flowers. So, and this is the last thing I'll talk about. Before my friend passed, because I kind of knew that we were going to say goodbye to him about a week beforehand. And immediately I knew that the flowers in my garden, not just the flowers in my garden, the most beautiful flowers in my garden, they wanted to be there to support him. So the morning that the veterinarian was coming, I walked with my dog. He, like I said, he was kind of falling down most of the time, but he walked outside with me, and weirdly, he had like a lot more energy that day. He wagged his tail for the first time in maybe 6 months or 8 months or maybe even longer. Part of the issue he had, it partially kind of paralyzed him on his back half, and so he couldn't wag his tail, but he wagged his tail that day. That was amazing. But anyway, sorry to get off track. We went outside, and I knew, I don't know how I know, what language I'm speaking to these plants or to these flowers in, but I knew that they wanted to support him making that transition, and they wanted to support me too, but they really wanted to support him. They loved him, they cared for him, and they wanted to give themselves to these flowers, wanted to give themselves to him. So I went through the garden, and it was kind of difficult for me to cut some of these beautiful flowers because I know how hard it is for them to grow, but I cut them, and they all wanted one of kind of each kind wanted to be there. So many different flowers, sage flowers, and marigolds, and who else was there? I mean, I don't know. I'm spacing all the names at this moment, but probably 20 species of flowers. Primroses. I mean, anyway, all the beautiful flowers of the garden. They wanted to be there, so we cut them, and we laid them all around my friend as we sort of started the process of saying goodbye to him. And yeah, how did I know those flowers wanted to be there? I could feel it. That they wanted to support him. They wanted to support him in that transition from life to death. And I do think they want to support all of us, I have to say. I think it's going to be a little bit of work for us to learn their language. to learn to speak with them, to learn to communicate with them. I probably have an edge being a mushroom, but I think humans can do that too. And it sounds, flowers are, it's like we talked about love last time. Love can be just a trite, meaningless word, but what it's pointing to is such a deep underlying force of the universe, right? And that's like what flowers are. They're just maybe these pretty things that we see bugs and birds kind of get their food from or whatever. And sometimes we take a picture of them, we think they're pretty, but they're not. They're so deep, and there's so much magic there. And flowers, y'all. Don't underestimate them. Don't underestimate the power of flowers. That was something people said in the 1960s. They said flower power. I think they were tapped into something. I think a lot of interesting ideas from the 60s have come back or are starting to come back. Go spend time with a flower. I mean, I don't even really do this. There's been times where I've sat for maybe half an hour next to a flowering shrub and watched all the bees and insects around it, and it's an amazing thing to do. I would encourage you to do that, and I would encourage myself to take the time out of my day to do that, to sit with a flower anywhere, any kind, and see what it's all about. See what its life is like and what it has to tell you. And I can almost guarantee you it's going to tell you something in some way. So, we talked about death today. It's on my mind. We talked about life and flowers. And we'll talk about those things more. How can you be a mushroom and not talk about death? I mean, it's just part of what we do. It's part of who we are. In any case, folks, I appreciate you watching here. I appreciate your comments and your thoughts. And I feel like, maybe this is the beginning of us building something really beautiful and interesting together. So I'm optimistic, I'm excited, and I appreciate you. And even though I don't know you, I think I love you. I hope I love you. I want to love you. Because I want that to just be my sort of default, is love, even when it's not easy. And so, I love you. Take care. And we'll talk again soon.